Dreaming of that California lifestyle? Well, you better be saving.
The reason our poverty rate is high, or the highest in the country, is the cost of housing.
The number of people in California who can afford to buy a home continues to fall.
But it didn't used to be this way.
Welcome to Sunnyvale. It's a modern and booming suburban city with all the warmth and friendliness of a small town. There's no finer community in which to raise a family. There's lots of affordable possibilities for you to choose from for your ideal home. Imagine your kids growing up here, playing ball in your spacious backyard, riding a bicycle down the street, and making new friends at the local library. Life is truly worth living in wonderful Sunnyvale, the city of destiny.
That's my grandma. And this is her house. And right next door to that house is the house my dad bought. So my grandma, my dad, and I have all lived in Sunnyvale for most of our lives. You know, growing up in Sunnyvale was kind of great. I had a pool. I had ballet classes. You could say I was quite the performer. There were some ups and also some downs. But overall, I think I had a pretty great childhood. And actually, I've been thinking, what am I going to do after college? Am I going to move back home into my parents' house? I kind of want to be as close to home as possible, but...
My name is Evelyn Comstock. I moved to Sunnyvale in 1957 with my husband. There's your dad. I love the way he laughed when he was little. California seemed like the end of the world, and I thought, why would anybody want to go there? Now I know why. Sunnyvale was fairly new. My husband said it was like being in a fraternity with girls. All the young men were about the same age, married to college sweethearts. It was wonderful. It was great. They were building schools at the rate of one new school a year. It's a little sad to think about it changing. The houses that were sold then for, say, $20,000 are now selling for $2 million. It doesn't seem possible. One thing I did worry about was that my children might move 3,000 miles away, as I did, and I was always grateful that they didn't.
I guess I generally had good experiences growing up. I used to go to a stamp club in the downtown area, but that got torn down. There was a period when things got quite a bit more expensive very quickly. There's major companies here, so Apple, Google. I think people will pay a premium to live here.
When you bought your house, the people who inherited it lived in Alaska, and they really didn't want to live here and didn't want to have a lot of work selling and so on. So they were predisposed to sell it quickly, and you were lucky.
Yeah, otherwise I hadn't really looked in this area.
What I think is sad is that people like teachers and postmen and delivery men and so on.
Librarians.
They can't afford to live here. They can't. Yeah. So then who's going to do that work?
Also, if people decide to move and live someplace cheaper, they can sell their home, but doesn't mean like 5 years from then they could move back and afford to live in the Bay Area again.
Thank you.
No. There's an article in the newspaper.
My name is Fred Cometa, and I've lived in Sunnyvale for the last roughly 10 years. I was in high-tech consulting for business development. That was the times, right? High-tech was booming and people were making big bucks everywhere, and I was working, so everything was manageable. But then finally it came to my retirement time. Even though my wife and I were both collecting Social Security, it wasn't really enough to cover the mortgage payments plus property tax. We're going to eat up our savings unless I do something different. So I bought a mobile home. At the time, our mobile home park kept prices reasonable, but then they sold out to an investment corporation that started raising prices. Those people who had to sell couldn't sell unless they basically gave their home away. This is a David versus Goliath story. You know, you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar investment company against a bunch of volunteers. One of the guys in our park started talking about protests, and I got in touch with him. Let's start protesting. All of a sudden, we have newspaper media coverage. We have a congressman looking into it.
You can't have these rent increases of the
So in the end, we managed to get reasonable negotiation. Working for the right thing, you don't give up.
Do you think that I will be able to buy a house in Sunnyvale one day?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think your daughter, I guess?
If you want a house in Sunnyvale, you're going to have to inherit it.
Get some help from your parents.
But why does that have to be the only way to afford a house here anymore? I'll be honest, I don't have the answer to the housing crisis. But what I do know is that there can't really be a community without the people. So we need to make the people more of a priority. When I think of Sunnyvale, I don't think of all those big tech companies. Sunnyvale's my home. I think of the friends I met at school. I think about going to the homecoming game, dancing the Macarena at home with my parents, and Christmases with my family. Sunnyvale isn't just the heart of Silicon Valley to me. It's home.
I've never felt so